right, we have breaking news now. World Health Organization has just declared coronavirus a pandemic at this point.
Hello, I'm Cecil Staten, the President and CEO of AAHOA. And I want to give a special word of thanks to our sponsors for today's event, Chase and Red Lion Hotels Corporation. We appreciate very much their support of AAHOA. I want to thank you for joining us today, and especially those here nearby Georgia, the home state, proud home of AAHOA's headquarters. I wish that we were able to meet in person for this regional event. However, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to keep our nation and our economy in a holding pattern as we await for that vaccine in hopefully just a few weeks' time. When I joined AAHOA last year, I looked forward to traveling across this country to meet you, the people who drive America's hotel and hospitality industry. You know, as a former small business owner myself, I feel an immense kinship with you because of your entrepreneurial drive and vision. It's your commitment to build, to inspire, and to succeed that really drew me to this association. If there were ever a time that the unwavering optimism of entrepreneurs is needed, it's right now, when times are tough. You know, even though you worked hard and built successful businesses, COVID-19 continues to disrupt our industry in ways that few imagined it could. And unfortunately, it's pushing many hotels to the brink. You know, I'm the son of small business owners myself, and in addition to being an educator, I built a few successful businesses. From reviving a failing radio station and turning that into owning 15 radio stations, to launching publishing companies that brought New York Times bestselling books to print, I always believed that my hard work and commitment to a job done right would lead to progress and a better life for my family. You know, despite my hard work and success, like entrepreneurs in every industry, at one time or another, I had to overcome disruption. Digital music and streaming services disrupted radio, changed how people consume news, music, and information. Then Amazon and ebooks turned the book publishing model upside down. But as entrepreneurs, when disruption threatens the businesses we have built, the jobs we've created, we adapt. It's how we survive. The hospitality industry faces disruptions such as new technologies, brand models, regulations. But you know, we've never faced a disruption as impactful as this pandemic. That's why AAHOA is doing everything we can to help you adapt and overcome the disruptions and challenges this pandemic is inflicting upon your businesses. We saw our industry go from several years of consecutive growth to a standstill seemingly overnight. This virus has changed the way we live. It's changing the way we do business. It's forcing us to innovate. You know, some speculate that the pandemic is accelerating the inevitable change and demise of certain things certain industries even that will be rendered obsolete by new technologies and the passage of time. It seems everything is changing. How we approach labor, guest services, sanitation protocols, automation, and other areas are all impacted. We will continue to see significant shifts in the coming months and years. At AAHOA, our response to this pandemic is always member-centric. We listen to your needs. We look at how we can meet them in the short term, and we plan for supporting you and our industry in the long run. For hoteliers and the hospitality industry, the road to recovery starts with AAHOA. This association is a reflection of you, our members. It's a reflection of your dreams and your journeys. In my role as president and CEO, I'm committed to learning as much as I can from you and meeting as many AAHOA members, industry partners, and association partners as I possibly can. AAHOA has great momentum, and we are riding high on big achievements in recent years. Like you, though, our dynamism and our ambition allows us to adapt and pivot our resources during this crisis to look to the future, to give you the resources you need to get through this pandemic. I'm excited to explore the multitude of ways that AAHOA can and will help hoteliers adapt to the disruption of COVID-19. From advocacy and education to exclusive virtual events such as this, we are continually reimagining how we can deliver for you. I want you to be clear. My goal is for AAHOA to become the most respected entity in the hospitality world, respected for its leadership and respected for its service to its members. As we progress through the fourth decade of AAHOA, we will become nothing less than the foremost resource and advocate for America's hotel owners. That's what we've committed to in a brand new strategic plan that our board approved just several weeks ago. As an association, we are prepared for where the road ahead may lead us, no matter what disruptions may occur along the way. In 2021, we're still going to be dealing with many of this year's challenges. That's why our goal is that every day you run your business, you can have confidence that AAHOA is by your side, providing the resources that you need to succeed. AAHOA is in a strong financial position because of careful spending and the ever-increasing value we deliver to our investors. Like you, our members, our association is striving to make the most efficient use of all of our resources in an effort to continually fulfill our mission. We will continue to make wise choices for our association and for you, our members. And we want you to know that we will survive this crisis together. AAHOA's leadership continues to advocate for you with lawmakers, brands, and OTAs. Our industry-leading education is focused on the issues that matter most to you. It helps you stay on top of the best ways to respond to this pandemic and protect your employees, your guests, and your business. Together, we will survive COVID and other disrupting forces to be even stronger in the years to come. You are the heart and soul of our industry. As challenging as this crisis is, you endure, and you do so with resiliency and with grace. I'm proud to be part of this association, and I am humbled to work with such accomplished entrepreneurs as you. I'm also fortunate to work with a great team in Atlanta and in Washington, D.C. who are dedicated to the success of our members, as well as our next speakers. I've enjoyed serving with them. They are the leaders of our association and they are the leaders of our industry. Please join me in welcoming this group of dedicated and talented servants to AAHOA, our 2021 AAHOA officers, Chairman Biren Patel, Vice Chair Vinay Patel, Treasurer Neil Patel, and Secretary Bharat Patel.
Thank you, Cecil. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Biren Patel, AAHOA Chairman. Thank you for joining us today for the Alabama, Florida, and Georgia Regional, a virtual experience. Our team has worked hard to bring you this outstanding virtual conference and trade show. Based on the feedback that we had been given about the 2020 annual virtual convention and trade show, we are proud to present you with a new and improved interface that enhances your experience. It enables you to connect with our vendor partners and each other clearly, directly, and easily. I was looking forward to meeting everyone in person as your chairman this year. However, the fact that we are meeting virtually is yet another reminder that we are far from business as usual. As an owner with both branded and independent properties, I understand and share your frustrations and concerns about our industry. The recovery forecasts from STR, CBRE, and others keep shifting further down the road as our nation struggles to fight this pandemic. Our recovery as an industry will begin when people start increasing their travel. Although the recovery timeline is uncertain, AAHOA is working hard to help you during these challenging times. Today, you're going to hear from our AAHOA officers about our efforts to help you navigate through the road to recovery and to come out on the other side of this crisis. We've refocused our advocacy and education efforts and priorities to address the multitude of new challenges facing owners, such as the liquidity crisis, accessing government relief programs such as PPP, seeking relief from brands and OTAs, which is an important topic for our membership, and protecting guests and employees. I know there are many things that are impacting our businesses right now that have us concerned. However, I can tell all of you this: AAHOA is trying its best with the obstacles and parameters we have in front of us. Our education team has developed almost 200 COVID-specific webcasts since March to help you address the pandemic's challenges head on. AAHOA also keeps you up to speed on the latest industry and COVID news with our daily digests. We've had over 80 virtual events which address local issues and bring you together, and AAHOA and the industry leaders help you stay connected. Even though we are in a virtual space today, I hope today's regional conference allowed you to take advantage of the networking opportunities and special deals you can only get through AAHOA. We are excited to share with you all of AAHOA's efforts to support you and your businesses. Now please join me in welcoming AAHOA's Vice Chairman Vinay Patel, who will give you an industry update in your areas and bring you up to speed on our advocacy efforts in Washington and in the state capitals across the country. Vinay?
Thank you, Biren. You know, it's been a very difficult year for all of us. I can't wait till 2020 is over and looking forward to a good, prosperous 2021. But let's look back at some of the data that we've had year to date so far, especially looking at the Florida, Alabama, Georgia area here. So as you can see on the screen, year-to-date occupancy are relatively all in the 50% range. The two cities that stick out are Miami at 37%, and then in Pensacola at 59%. And if you look at the rates, again, Miami has the highest rate at a rate of $193, and Pensacola at $110. So as you can kind of see, the leisure markets are doing a lot better than some of the corporate or the transient markets. Now let's take a look at the lodging forecast for all the hotels in the USA. You know, if you look at 2019 numbers, we're looking at a 66% occupancy. And then the key takeaway from this particular slide is that the hotel lodging industry does not recover until 2024. So if you look at the occupancy, it does not get back to 2019 numbers until 2024. And forecasted for the end of this year is only 39% in terms of occupancy for all the hotels across the USA. Now let's focus down to the regions here. So let's look at Birmingham, looking at all the hotels in the Birmingham area. Forecasted for the rest of this year, you're looking at 42% in terms of occupancy. And again, you don't recover until 2024 to 2019 numbers. And if you look at the RevPAR for this year, you're looking at a minus 45.1%. Now, if you narrow it down to the mid-price hotels, again, you forecasted for 2020 is at 43% in terms of occupancy, and then it does not recover until 2024 in terms to getting back to 2019 numbers. Now let's go down further, and if you go down to the economy hotels, the economy hotels were forecasted for 2020 is at 47.1%. Again, the economy hotels are recovering a little bit faster, and that doesn't come back to 2019 numbers until 2023. Let's look at Atlanta. All hotels across the Atlanta market, forecasted for this year, you're looking at 41.1% in terms of occupancy, and you don't recover back to 2019 numbers until 2024. Atlanta mid-price hotels, similar numbers in the sense of 41% to year end, and then does not recover back to 2019 numbers until 2024 to 72% occupancy. If you drill it down further, the economy hotels are doing a lot better. Forecasted for a year at the end of this year is 50%, and then recovers a lot faster, and it recovers back to 2019 numbers at 2022. Orlando. I was just in Orlando last week, and it was a ghost town, and obviously these numbers reflect that. You look at 2020 numbers here, forecasted for this year is 34%, and it does not recover until 2023 back to 2019 numbers. Orlando forecast for mid-price hotels, year-end 33%, and it does not recover back to 2019 numbers until 2023. Orlando forecast for economy hotels, again, a similar trend in the sense that for the end of this year, you're looking at 44%, and then recovers back to 2019 numbers until 2023. Tampa, similar numbers. Again, all hotels, you're looking at a 47% occupancy year end for this year forecasted, and recovers back to 2019 numbers in 2023. Drill it down to further down into the mid-price hotels, similar numbers. At the end of this year, you're looking at a 48% occupancy, and then recovers back much quicker actually to 2019 numbers at 2022. The Tampa forecast for economy hotels, again, similar trend, forecast at almost 63% occupancy for this year forecast is pretty good, and it recovers a lot quicker at 2022 in terms of all the economy hotels in Tampa. Now let's take a look at some of the operating data that we can look at. I know the screens are kind of small, but I'll just read them out to you. The total operating operating revenue by property type, if you look at the mid-scale hotels, is at 75% here. Gross operating profit is down almost 50%. And then gross operating margin compared to last year was 44%. This year it's at 24%. Now let's talk about advocacy. One of the most important things this association does on your behalf is advocate on your behalf and face a lot of the issues that you guys face in your properties. In the past, we used to work with a lot of different issues that we used to deal with. Workforce relations, drive-by lawsuits, tax reforms, and travel and tourism. All those things are still important to us, but things have changed ever since the pandemic hit. So you may be asking, in light of the pandemic, what keeps us up at night as far as hoteliers? I know me as a hotelier, liquidity is a big issue for me right now. How am I going to pay? Especially you're looking at the next 6 months. You're looking at some dire times coming up in November, December, January, February. So liquidity is a big issue. Regulatory relief, especially with the lame duck Congress that's in session right now, how can we get additional regulatory relief? And liability reforms, people staying at our hotels, what if they have COVID? What happens if they get sick, or if we get sick? What kind of liabilities will we face? So these are some of the things that keeps me up as hotelier up at night, and I'm assuming all of us as membership feel the same way. People have asked, what does AAHOA do for me? So since March, we've been involved actively on the advocacy side. On the CARES Act, especially in the beginning, when right around April, May, we've been involved, very involved, detailed in terms of what's going on the CARES Act, especially when you look at the negotiations that go on behind the scenes when you talk to Congress here. A couple of things that have impacted us in terms of hoteliers. You look at the fact that the PPP funds. Before they were saying that, hey, look, the PPP funds can be only used at one-year hotels. So AAHOA is actively engaged in that level and saying, hey, look, many of our hotel owners own more than one hotel, several hotels. So we should not be able to just use it at one hotel. We should be able to use it at all of our hotels. So we were actively engaged early on to make sure that all of our hotel owners are protected on that side there. Also on the PPP, we wanted to make sure that non-payroll expenses are included. Extending the deadline. Originally it was back in June, and we extended to August, and all the way to December. And also duration of the program. Making sure that it's impacted in a proper way. And we also talk about regulatory relief. A lot of things, as far as banking relief, we are all looking for forbearance for all of our hotels right now. We're looking for 90 days, 60 days, or 120 days. And so we're making sure that the FDIC, all the regulatory things we can put pressure on them, we can do that. And we also worked on the CMBS side. I myself have a couple of CMBS loans and want to make sure that whatever relief we can push towards regulatory side, we're pushing it on our side there. And then we also participate in meetings, meetings with the president. We've had one of our AAHOA members who met with the president. As a matter of fact, that Danny Gaikwad has met with the vice president in Florida, and many key members of Congress, myself, to all the officers, to many of our ambassadors, to our board of directors, have all been engaged on many different levels to make sure that whatever is our issue, we're making sure that it's communicated to the members of Congress. Next slide. Okay. And you go back to the PAC. I still recall going to the AAHOA legislative event 10 years ago, and when we used to go to Congress, first thing we had to do is educate the member of Congress. We had to say, hey, look, what is AAHOA? What do they do? We own so many hotels. Fast forward to today, when we go to Congress, we're not wasting our time talking to them and saying, hey, look, this is what AAHOA is doing, or this is what AAHOA is. We're basically talking about the big issues here. And how we're able to make that difference here is through our PAC. Our PAC has grown a lot over the last 10 years, and that gives us better influence in Congress there. And I want to rest assure everybody here, as far as when we donate to the PAC and when we give PAC to our congressional leaders, we make sure there's the right candidate, making sure that everything that's important to us as hoteliers is included in their comments and whatever else. And when we approve these things here, it's done by a government affairs committee with a 13-point scale to make sure that, hey, look, this is just not something that's given because somebody asked, and it's just because of that there. So we vet it out very properly and detailed. So my ask to you guys is that go to myahoa.com, look up your member of Congress, make sure you reach out to them. The more engagement we do, the better it is. Contribute to the AAHOA PAC. I know that it's a difficult time period for all of us here. It's not an easy time for hoteliers to kind of shell out money for the PAC. But I encourage you guys to donate whatever you can. A simple $365 per year is not that bad. And the fact that you're getting so much more benefits out of this $365 than anything else out there. So I encourage all of you guys to get engaged on the AAHOA PAC and make sure you donate and get involved. And then make sure that when you receive action alerts from AAHOA, you actually participate on those. Because when you participate on those, congressional leaders hear from you. Congressional leaders know what issues are concerning you, and making sure it's very simple. And these action alerts are very simple. Again, all you have to do is type in your name, address, your zip code, and just press send, and it basically sends everything to the congressional person there. And then finally, update your property data. Go to myahoa.com and make sure that all the hotels that you have are included on that myahoa.com. Which is absolutely very critical. When I go to Congress, when I go to congressional leaders, and when they ask me, hey, look, Vinay, how many hotels do you have, or do your membership have in this particular region? If I don't have that information, it makes it very difficult. So it's important that you participate on that side and make sure that the data on the myahoa.com is on there, so we can make sure we advocate on your behalf in a proper manner. With that said, I'm going to hand the floor over to Neil, who's going to talk about education and communications. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay. Hi, I'm Neil Patel from Austin, Texas. I'm your AAHOA treasurer. I wanted to go over AAHOA's education platform, also known as Hotel Owners Academy. Last year, in 2019, we had 17,163 attendees. This year, as of today, we have over 47,000 attendees. That's over 150% increase from last year. And the numbers keep going up every single day. Here's what AAHOA is doing for our members. We've created 4 certifications. First, we know guest confidence in our industry is at an all-time low. We partnered with P&G and created a sanitation program. So we want to make sure guests feel satisfied at our hotel and they feel safe. That's our number one priority as hotel owners. And we already have over 500 members who signed up for this program since it's launched in August. Number two, the all-new CHO program. We rolled this program out back in February of this year, and we already have over 800 members who took advantage of it. And now you can customize on exactly what you want to learn and when you want to learn it, all on demand. And this program for lifetime member, it's $199, and for annual members, it's $249. This is the best price you'll find in the industry for a program of this sort. Number three, I feel this is the most important one, our Human Trafficking Awareness Training Program, or HTAT. We had over 6,300 hotel owners and our staff take this because we know that things like this may happen at our hotels. So let's train ourselves and let's train our staff to look for those exact points. And that way we can put an end to human trafficking. Number four is the CHIA, or Certification in Hotel Industry Analytics. This program is valued at over $500, but as an AAHOA member, you get it for only $100. So with the certifications, we also do webcast, and they're absolutely free for our members. And we have over 300 on demand where you can go on myahoa.com and access them. This year alone, we had over 180 webinars. And out of those 180, over 160 were COVID related. We want to make sure that we're teaching our members on what to look for or what to do, what are the best practices, especially during these tough times. And they're all categorized by the on exactly what you want, and you can select on what you want to learn about. And you can also share it with your staff. So recently we did some popular webcast, and here's the list. Number one, using LinkedIn to grow your hotel presence and stay profitable. Number two, ADA compliance in a social distancing era. And number three, hotel valuation outlook as of June 30th, 2020. Data is more important than oil. We were able to use the data provided by AAHOA, and we shared it with our local and federal elected officials, so that way we can push for more reliefs for our industry. And we want to ensure that we're connected and we get all the data we need from AAHOA. This is how you can stay informed. The Daily Digest. Every evening, AAHOA sends you an email, and within 3 minutes, you're caught up with all the daily news that's happening in the industry. Number two, make sure you go on myahoa.com and customize your AAHOA emails. You can select on what type of emails you want to receive. If you're interested in advocacy, you can select that. If you're an independent hotelier, you can select that. Or even deals and discount, you can select that. And there's so much more ways to customize your MyAAHOA emails. And number three, cell phones for text and robocalls. If there's something very important that's happening, we will text you and we will call you. For example, last month, we had a campaign to send out 10,000 letters to our members of Congress to push for more reliefs for our industry. Not only did we hit 10,000, but we shattered it and we hit over 16,000 letters to the federal officials. And this is one way where we leveraged the membership and we used it for our advantage. So here's what I want you to take back. Number one, sign up for a certification you have not yet received. Number two, pick 3 webcasts that you can share with your staff. And number three, customize your AAHOA experience by completing your MyAAHOA profile. Now, with that said, I would like to introduce your newly elected secretary, Bharat Patel. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. You know, the election seems so far away. I think Vinay mentioned Orlando. So there's still a lot going on in Orlando. It's not that much of a ghost town. Please come by and attend when you can. Let me talk a little bit about the events and the vendor partnership relations we have. Look, I really wish I could be in person, whether it be in Birmingham, Atlanta, or Orlando, or Tampa, for these virtual events. Those are some of my favorite regionals. Of course, Florida being my home state is my favorite regional. We've engaged with more owners in 2020 than any previous year. The numbers show hotel owners are coming to AAHOA for the information they need. Unfortunately, a lot of it is through these virtual events, which Neil just talked about, and through this virtual convention. Trust me when I tell you, all our officers want to be there in person, answer your questions, speak to your needs, and talk about the events that are coming up. Let me switch to the next slide, talking about the virtual events. This is our last regional conference, but I'm sure in the next 30 days for this year and into the new year in 2021, which hopefully, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, that's going to be a much better year than 2020. And we'll be able to look back and tell our children and grandchildren about what happened in 2020. So on our AAHOA calendar, there's lots of virtual events. There's also webinars. Go back and look, just like the LinkedIn event that our treasurer just talked about, Neil. There's a lot going on with AAHOA. I know it's hard to navigate some of those, but it's worth the effort. Let me talk a little bit about golf tournaments are coming up. We're going to have some live and in-person events. We do expect, there might be some adjustments, but we are expecting the convention in May of 2021. Those details will follow soon. Let me go and talk a little bit about our membership and what my ask is and what we can do to help the association. And let me finish up on talking about our partner vendors. I like to do business with people we like, know, and trust. And it's great that we're able to be in a trade show normally and see the vendor partner across from us, talk with them, deal with them, ask for that discount, that AAHOA discount. This year it's been very different. But let me say this: please come to AAHOA.com. Give our vendor partners who support our association an opportunity for your business. That's all I ask. If you could do that, that would be fantastic. I know you're getting a lot of member updates. Go to myahoa.com. Make sure that you can change your preferences. I know you're getting a lot of emails from the Daily Digest, but the vendor partner emails are important. You can switch your preferences. So instead of seeing an email and just hitting delete, look at the preferences, adjust your settings, and I think that'll help you and that'll help us, because when we want to communicate something very urgently, it's hard to do if you've switched off or changed your, opted out on text or opted out on phone numbers. Running a business during a pandemic is very challenging. I myself, I was just on the call. I've been on the call with 3 members today, and it's basically the same refrain towards the end is I feel like I have, graduated to being a PhD in psychology when it comes to talking with my fellow team members, staff members, employees, because inevitably, almost every day, there's some sort of issue that we all deal with, And so, look, I know it's hard, but do this. Lean on AAHOA. Go to myahoa.com. Look if you've renewed your membership, because January 1st, 2021, there's a deadline. Human trafficking awareness training. Human trafficking awareness training is mandatory. Not only for yourself, there's actually 3 elements. Not only for yourself, but also for your fellow employees and team members, your frontline staff, which means your housekeepers, your front desk, not necessarily a groundskeeper or maintenance, but I'd say everyone. The details are on AAHOA.com. Once you log in, there's a card. I just tried it yesterday. It's available. You get the link. You go on, do the education seminar. I've done 3 of them already. Do them with your team members. So that HTAT training. In order to be eligible for that, you'll have to be a lifetime member or a renewed annual member. And if you need any details, please go to AAHOA.com. That's AAHOA.com, or call the office if you're having a little bit of trouble. 404-816-5759. Let me stop to go to the next slide, please. Talk a little bit about, my ask. I've already covered some of this, but I want to make sure it's on your screen. Other than the virtual events that we're having, which are free for all our members, the deals and discounts are available not only when they come to you on email, but also scrolling through and looking at our vendor partner directory, whether it's locks, whether it's tile, whether it's all the other things that matter to you when you got to do the small renovations or do those maintenance things. Check your phone for the Daily Digest. I would ask that, and I know it's not easy, but go by and check, AAHOA.com, see how many emails you got, what categories, and change the preferences. I think that would help with our communication to you. And finally, my final ask before I turn it over to our chairman is join or renew our AAHOA membership. I was able to see in the Florida panel a lot of new members and a lot of old members. I really do appreciate you all attending this virtual event, and I really do look forward to the next in-person event. Let me turn it over to your AAHOA chairman, Biren Patel.
Thank you, Bharat. Franchise relations and OTAs, both of those are hot topics amongst our industry, or and our membership, and rightfully so. Especially in the times that we're in, the amount of hard-earned resources that we put into our hotels, whether they are ground-up projects or acquisitions, makes us even more protective of our investments. One of the largest expense items are the monies we pay our franchisor each month, and those costs continue to go up every year. Knowing this, we continue to be the voice of America's hotel owners with the brands. So some of you may ask, what are we focusing on when we speak to the brands? We're focusing on increasing the owner value proposition and the ROI for owners. We're making sure that the brands think of the owners as they think of the customers. If something makes sense for the guest, does it also make sense for the owner? Making sure that the brands are communicating with owners before implementing new standards. And then when they implement them, are they telling us why they are making these changes and how it benefits us as owners? And lastly, contribution. How many reservations are the brands actually sending us? As all of you know, some of our revenue is not coming from brand.com, but we still get charged a fee from the brands on those reservations. And so, during this pandemic, we've asked brands for relief, but when we ask for certain types of relief, we may not get everything that we ask for. And as all of you know, some brands have done more than others during this time. I want to go over a list of initiatives that AAHOA has addressed and continues to address with the brands during COVID. Pausing PIPs and cycle renovations plus fees. Pausing guest satisfaction surveys plus fees. Pausing loyalty program enrollment requirements plus fees. Limiting or halting all food and beverage service or relaxing for each owner to decide what is best at their hotel. Pausing QA inspections plus fees. Delaying training plus fees. Pausing brand standards which are not safety related, plus postponing the implementation of all new standards set for 2020 and for the upcoming year of 2021. Canceling mandatory conferences and meetings, plus refunding all fees paid in advance for these. Discounting and deferring royalty fees. Discounting or eliminating fixed fees which are not being earned during COVID. Ensuring a simple and inexpensive hotel closures process if a hotel needed to close. Limiting health and safety standards to what is necessary and makes sense at each hotel and at little cost. And reevaluating breakfast options for the long term. Eliminating unnecessary room and lobby amenities and making other upon request only. And limiting housekeeping and exploring long-term options. AAHOA continues to gather members' concerns and is trying to find ways of what the best approach is to share these ideas with our brand leaders. We have members who come up with important topics that affect our industry. And when we go advocate on your behalf, one of the things, as my fellow officers mentioned, is what we need is the hard data. And let me explain to you why it's so important. When we go to our brand partners or our elected officials, our OTAs, and we bring up an important topic to them, one of the first things they ask us is how many people does this particular issue actually affect? And if we don't have that data, then our dialogue with them doesn't carry enough weight. So I'll give you an example, two different examples. One statement that's kind of a broad statement and one statement that has more substance. So if I go to one of our brand partners and I say, some of our members are saying that this particular mandate is not needed or unfair. That's a broad statement with not much substance. But if I go to a brand partner of ours and say, this mandate is affecting 300 properties nationwide, which are owned by AAHOA members, that statement alone has more substance, more meat on the bones, and that can make them realize of how much is affecting our membership and our industry. Also, we send out surveys to our membership, and we have members who reach out to all of us officers about individual concerns. We can't assume that those individual concerns is something that all members want. Therefore, we try to send out surveys so we kind of get a consensus of what our membership needs and how many of our members are actually being affected by a certain issue. I'll give you an example. During the middle of this pandemic, we sent a brand relief survey out where we wanted to know from all of you which brand has given the most relief, how much have they given, and who can improve and what can they improve on. The feedback that we got was not by many. So it was very hard for us to go back to even the brands and say, hey, look, this many members filled out the survey and this is the data that we have compiled. Second thing is that we always are evaluating what is in the best interest of the franchisees. However, we realize that it could differ from owner to owner. I'll give you another example. When this pandemic started, we heard from a handful of owners that said, hey, let's get rid of breakfast. This is our chance to get rid of breakfast. We compiled a letter. We got some big players in our industry together to endorse this letter. We sent it to our brands, right? And the first thing what some of these brands said was, just as many franchisees who don't want breakfast, we have franchisees who do want breakfast. So it's not all across the board. Next, I want to let you all know that one of the things that we're trying to improve on is our communication with our membership when we have these dialogues with our brand partners. We want to get that information out to you in a better format of what the dialogues that we're having with them. So we're continually trying to improve on those. When it comes to OTAs, we get several inquiries from our members about OTAs. OTAs haven't done enough. At the end of the day, I want all of you to know that our officers are all hotel owners at the end of the day also, right? And we all sense the frustration that all of you do when it comes to OTAs. Even during this time, they haven't done much. And as all of you are aware, that if you're a franchisee, your brand negotiates the commission on your behalf. So what we're doing is going back to our brand partners and telling them that when their renewal comes up, they need to negotiate a better rate on behalf of their franchisees. However, once again, we need more input and more data. If I go to, let's say, a Marriott, and I need to tell them that X amount of members of our association are Marriott franchisees, that gives them more substance of how much is affecting our association, our membership, and our industry. When it comes to independent hotels, last year, we had ongoing talks with a particular OTA to come up with an AAHOA commissionable rate for independent hotels. One of the first things they asked us was, how many independent hotels are owned by your membership? We don't have that data. We're gathering that data, but we don't have enough data to make that number and that voice powerful. That's why we ask you to fill those brand data portfolios out or in the profile and let us know what you actually own. We don't give your name and number out to anybody, but we need this data for the examples I gave you. Lastly, we must protect AAHOA and let you know when we see actions that may not be legal. At the end of the day, we are competing with one another, and there are laws that prohibit us from boycotting as a group. There may be things that I can do individually, and then all of you can do individually to a brand or an OTA. But as a group, that's colluding, and that can give us some liability legally. So I just want you to be careful when we try to do something as a group. There's some things that we can't, even though we want to do it, we can't. So we need to come up with new solutions and innovative ways to how to achieve our goals. And I just want to kind of recap what my fellow officers said and what I've said in a nutshell of what we need from you. Number one, we need all of you to go to your myAAHOA.com profile and update your emails. We get several members of ours asking us, what is AAHOA doing? We're not getting the communication from AAHOA of what AAHOA is doing. And then when we go dig deeper into it, the email address that they have on their profile is not updated. So make sure your email address is updated. Second is that brand data, right? I've explained to you why that brand data is important. Third, when you see a call to action, please make sure it takes 10 seconds. Please engage with the call of action emails that we get and the surveys. I emphasize why these surveys are important. If we don't get the input from you all, then it's hard for us to advocate on your behalf. And fourth, if you own a brand and they have an OAC or an FAC, we encourage you to get involved in them. If there's any positions that are open, run for those positions. So then you have a voice, we have a voice, and we can collaborate together to have a stronger voice to make an impact for our membership and industry. Before we go to the Q&A, I want to thank the 3 regional directors of all 3 regions, Vic Xavier, Rahul, and Sanjay, and all the ambassadors for everything that you all do, not just for your regions on the grassroots level, but for our association and the industry. Your time, commitment, and passion that you all give to our association is very much appreciated. I hope that you all found today's virtual experience valuable and informative. Now I'd like to open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cecil, the first question is for you. Why did AAHOA join the lawsuit with the IFA in California?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I want to mention to you, I am a 5-time elected state senator in Georgia. I know the elective process, unfortunately, in some cases, all too closely and know it all too well. Look, at AAHOA, we take very seriously our responsibility to advocate on behalf of hoteliers. And one part of that advocacy is opposing bad legislation. Now, we have opposed historically at AAHOA for many, many years efforts that are often referred to as joint employer efforts to change the law so that the employees of hoteliers or franchisees in general are considered the employees of franchisors, the brands. That would be devastating for the franchise model in the United States, which so many of our members use to create their companies, to create wealth successfully over many years. So naturally, when those laws pop up, we look for ways to oppose them. As far back as 2014, one of our current board members was testifying before a congressional committee against this kind of legislation at the federal level. So I just want to make it clear, this is something AAHOA has been engaged with for many years. Now, earlier this year in California, a bill was introduced. We worked along with our friends, hoteliers in California, alongside of the associations there to oppose that legislation. It was introduced by unions. We were concerned that if that legislation passed, it would actually harm the franchise model. It would theoretically make that employee relationship change. It could open the door for frivolous lawsuits, which we already have to deal with in our industry, and it could wreak havoc upon hoteliers. Unfortunately, that bill passed. The unions were that strong in California. So subsequent to that, various groups have come together to figure out how to oppose this. And even one of our members, AAHOA members in California, became a plaintiff in a lawsuit. Yes, the IFA was a part of it, but so were many other organizations. And we were asked to become a part of the lawsuit. And it was the right thing to do on behalf of hoteliers. I will tell you, as a legislator from Georgia, a lot of bad ideas start in California, and then they work their way across the country. It's been that way for a long time. So this is something that has the potential to be devastating to the franchise model in our country. And we owe it to you, our members, to be consistent, as we have been for many years, in opposing this bad legislation. Now, we have joined the lawsuit as a name. We have no liability. It doesn't bring any liability with it. It simply means we are lending our support to efforts to overturn this bad legislation through the courts and judicial process. It's the right thing to do, and it's what we're supposed to do as AAHOA, as we are advocates and the voice of hotel owners across this country.
Thank you, Cecil. Vinay, a question regarding AAHOA Con 21 in Dallas. Can you please provide any updates on this current status of convention?
Sure. We're excited, looking forward to it. As of right now, we're still planning, and we're looking forward to having the convention in Dallas. Again, it's a difficult planning process. Again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in terms of number of members, number of vendors, and whatever else is out there. So we're working through the processes, and as I said, we're still planning on having the convention in Dallas, expecting a good amount of attendance, especially given the fact that it's in Dallas. You've got a lot of people within a couple of hours drive of Dallas to, as far as members that are local there. So so far so good. We should be opening up registration hopefully soon, in the next probably 30 days or so. But everything else is moving forward. We will be obviously very cautious in terms of COVID Social distancing will be included. Our booths will be a lot more in terms of spaced out. And so we'll be precautionary. And then even the convention center in Dallas has been rated top class in terms of cleanliness and hand sanitizers and whatever else is out there. So again, we're moving with caution, but as of right now, we're still looking forward to having a convention in Dallas in May.
Thank you, Vinay. I'm switching, Vinay, your hats right now from convention to hotelier. Next question. My bank told me that the FDIC is going to make me start paying on principal and interest in January next year, and we are not ready yet. What is AAHOA doing to help with the lending?
I have the same issue. I hate to say this here. I was with my lender this afternoon, and we've been dragging this thing out for the last 6-9 months, and how much more can we get? From an advocacy side, we're working on a lot of different levels. When you talk about the FDIC, talking to the regulatory reforms and whatever else is out there, we're constantly talking to a lot of different federal agencies to make sure that, hey, look, whatever relief that you can provide to the banks is how we're going to be able to ride this thing out here. So, look, we're on the same boat. We're still advocating on your behalf to the FDIC or whatever regulatory agency that's in DC. But we're constantly pushing. We're constantly pushing in that side there, because we all feel the pain, just like you. I feel the pain myself, and I'm assuming a lot of our board members, officers, and whatever hoteliers that are out there, we're feeling the same pain here.
I would just add that being engaged with your banker is very important. There's no strict requirement. Just keep in mind, one thing you may have to do is actually dig up that loan document or ask the lender to get you a copy of yours and look through it and see what the loan to value ratio is and some of the other things. Remember, the FDIC is just a guaranteeing authority for a portion of your loan, depending on the program that you have. So the rest, the bank is liable. And they may have to look at the contract and look at where it says about loan to value ratio and get an idea of what the valuation of your hotel is versus what you owe.
Thank you, Brett. Biren, you may have answered this in your update on the franchise section, but this member writes in, breakfast should be limited to grab and go for 2021 with all brands. Can you give an update on that? You're on mute.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. So, we've been in constant communication with all of our brands. And, we can sense that some of them are already starting to inch towards bringing back the breakfast that they had pre-COVID. And, personally myself, and I'm sure all of you are going through the toughest times right now. November was not a good month. December doesn't look that great, and January doesn't either. So for the next 2-3 months, it's definitely not coming back. And so, we're having this dialogues with them that at least give the option to the owner or the franchisee. Grab and go is a safe route to go, but some owners or franchisees want to even minimize that from grab and go. And that's the challenge that we have with our brand partners, that they want to at least give something. And so we're telling them that if you're going to keep serving breakfast, then we need to at least keep it the minimum, the maximum at grab and go, and not increase it to your pre-COVID requirements, because we're nowhere near out to pre-COVID numbers. We're, as all of you are aware, we're probably 2005 ADR, and our occupancy is in most markets well below 50%. So how can we sustain the breakfast cost while we're having to sustain the cleanliness and sanitization costs that we're having to incur, right? To make sure that our properties are clean and safe for the consumer to come to our properties. So breakfast is on top of our minds. There are on every dialogue that we have with our brand partners, and some of them have taken this in consideration. I hope all of them do, and let's see what happens. But we will keep pushing to not let them increase the requirement of breakfast for each of our franchisees and members.
If I can add one more thing to that for the breakfast dialogue. I sit on a FAC for a brand, and what happens in the reality is that there's a certain section of our own membership, out of 10 people, probably a third will say, hey, look, we want minimal breakfast. A third will say one grab and go. And actually a third of them will say, hey, we want more breakfast or add more things to it. And so it makes it very difficult for us as an association because we're hearing all kinds of different things here. But just like there's a lot of membership that doesn't want breakfast, ironically, there's a good portion of it that says, hey, we do need breakfast. Again, I'm not saying that everybody's like that, But then, so we're listening to all different things. And so even on my FAC, like I said, it was literally a third. And then, so we're all trying to figure out what the best solution is in terms of what's there. And obviously the common denominator is just to grab and go. I know in my own hotels, that has worked really, really well, but keeps it consistent, keeps it safe, and keeps it cost efficient in these tough times.
Thank you, Biren and Vinay. Biren, this one is for you. And you may have addressed this already in your section on the OTAs, but how come when membership protests, AAHOA would publish a statement against it, even though the protest itself doesn't mention AAHOA?
So I'll be the first one to tell you that when I took over as chairman, I spoke to our team about this OTA blackout possibility. And when we dug in deeper, it was not possible as an association or a group to do that because it makes not only our membership liable, our association liable, but even you as a franchisee liable. So when we heard of someone else that was doing that, our board came to us and said that there are members asking us as elected leaders of what we should do. And our board decided to send out a message out to our membership to educate them that these are the possible liabilities that you may be facing if you decide to do this. And just to educate our membership that, hey, look, if you decide to do this, it's your choice, but we're just informing you that if you do, then you might be liable in certain areas. And that was to educate our membership. It was something that our board had discussed and wanted to share with our membership, and that's why we did that. Look, trust me, if I just look at it from a personal level, I probably would want to close the OTAs at times. At this time, it's probably the wrong time for me. I'm trying to fill heads in beds, right, just to pay my mortgage. So the timing of that is number one, in my opinion, maybe not the appropriate one, but as a group, when something goes out officially from on a letterhead or from an association, that's where the liability comes in. If I tell you one-on-one, hey, close your OTA off tomorrow, and I do it myself, that's different. But when it comes from an association or from a group on an official communication platform, that's where we can kind of get in trouble. That's why we sent out what we did.
Thanks, Biren. Cecil, one on communications. Is there a way to not send the Daily Digest emails, as they seem to be diluting the importance of messages that members are now choosing to ignore?
Well, look, we are constantly reviewing how we communicate with you, our members. It's very important. I know it's frustrating for you at times because you get a lot of emails from a lot of directions, and how to pick and choose what's important versus what may not be. It's not easy. So we get that. So we are, thinking about this on an ongoing basis. And we realize now maybe things aren't quite as urgent as they were back in March or April or May. And so there will be an evolution of this. But at the same time, I want to stress to you, I believe it is worth your time. And I believe the rewards that you will reap from the investment of time are so valuable that I would encourage you to please pay attention to what you receive from AAHOA. Our Daily Digest, which you reference, has really been viewed across this industry as best-in-class communications. We've attempted to make it a one-time place in your day when you can spend 5 minutes, and we have brought together important information from across the industry that's relevant for you and the situation that we're all facing. We add to that information about what AAHOA is doing. If you want to know what AAHOA is doing, it's the best place to get that bird's eye view of everything that's taking place at AAHOA. So we're going to continue to do this. We know from the statistics that we receive from our emails and all the communications that we do that click-through rates and open rates are at an all-time high. So we know that people are turning to these communications because they need, frankly, what AAHOA is offering. But I want to assure you, we will continue to think about the best ways to do our communications. It's an incredibly important part of our new strategic plan. We want to make sure that we are giving you the information you need that will make a difference each and every day as you seek to run your business successfully.
Thanks, Cecil. Another question for you. There are some members who believe that the organization is heading in a direction of being very staff-driven rather than member-driven. Can you offer your thoughts on that?
Well, I would suggest to you this is something that's been going on for years. AAHOA today is not the AAHOA of 20 or 25 or 30 years ago. We're in our 31st year. We're an adult now. We've grown up to be the largest hotel owners association in the world with nearly 20,000 members. We're an association that does communications that we've just been talking about. We do in a normal year more than 200 events around the country. We put on the largest trade show and convention really for our industry. We do education events just since COVID, more than 200 this year that 47,000 people have participated in. And then we do advocacy in Washington on a daily basis. I'd love to spend time talking to you about the phone calls just today our team has had with members of Congress as we're working hard on a new potential stimulus bill in the lame duck session, and then even beyond that, the one that may be contemplated next year once the new administration in Congress is sworn in. Look, we have a lot of stuff going on. It can't be run any longer by volunteers. It's not fair, and there's no way we could be the professional association we are today without a professional, dedicated staff. So it's a natural evolution of AAHOA. Look, as I said in my remarks to you earlier this afternoon, I want AAHOA to be the most respected entity within the hospitality world, within the hotel space. I don't want us to take a backseat to any other organization. And the way we're going to do that is to have a great strategic thinking board that brings great ideas, that comes together to create great policy, that approves our budget, that hires a president and CEO who can lead a professional team in order to fulfill our vision and our mission and our strategic objectives. In our new strategic plan, our vision is that AAHOA will be the foremost resource and advocate for America's hotel owners. And we can't do that without a professional staff who come together every day out of their passion to serve our members, to drive this association to be all that it can be. That's what I'm committed to each and every day, and I know it's what our staff is committed to, and working alongside our great volunteers and a passionate board who are leaders of our industry. That's how we're going to accomplish this for our members as AAHOA moves further into its fourth decade. AAHOA is not a teenager anymore. It's not an adolescent anymore. It's an adult, and it has earned this rightful place within this wonderful industry that we all love. And we're going to make sure it grows into maturity, strong, resourceful, active, engaged, and successful in meeting your needs as our members.
Thank you, Cecil. Biren, we are at time, but we have several more questions. With your permission, I'd like to continue moving forward.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. Next, Biren, this one is for you. Is AAHOA going to find ways to allow members to be more involved? For example, I was told over 100 applications were submitted for committee spots when there were only a handful of openings this year. Perhaps make more seats available on committees, ensure that members on committees are active, and if they are not or miss meetings, they should not be allowed to stay on the committee or reapply. This will help members stay committed and also help other members be able to help and get involved instead of just having the same people in place on the same committees.
Yeah, so, you know, I hear sometimes from some people that AAHOA members are losing interest in the association. but then I also see a couple of hundred applications to serve on committees. That tells me that the engagement of wanting to participate or engage in our association is there. Just this past year, we had a couple of hundred, no, we had probably, I think, 100 and well over 100 applications for our committees. And we had less than 30 spots open. And so as the person who asked the question stated, that there are not enough spots. So we're looking at it, of seeing how we can, get the membership more involved. There's obviously other avenues besides committees that you can be an ambassador. You can still come to our legislative events when we have them in person without being on a committee, without being, an ambassador or a director. There's ways where you can maybe get on panels, being involved in some of our educational offerings. But I think that, and the threshold, we have tightened up our threshold because of the demand, where they have to be somewhat active, and there's an attendance threshold. If they don't attend X amount of calls in that year or in that term, then they will be removed. And then if they're not being active on these committee calls, then we reevaluate that in the following year. So when their term comes up, then we give somebody else a shot who might be more qualified for that position.
Thanks, Biren. Vinay and possibly Cecil, another question here. What, if anything, is AAHOA doing to lower the burden of real estate taxes for hotel owners?
In terms of what we're doing is that if you start working with, we're working with state associations. If you start looking at Florida or even in my state of Virginia, the best way to kind of work on the state and on the locals' taxes is working with the state associations. They've got the connections to the local jurisdictions. AAHOA, as influential as it is, it's hard to get so granular to a particular city or a certain particular state there. So, what we're doing is that working with the state associations, making sure, hey, look, whatever it is that we can reduce on taxes and whatever else in terms of real estate tax or property taxes, whatever that we can do, but working with the state associations is how we're able to kind of influence that tax portion there.
As a former state legislator, I mentioned earlier, I had to deal with tax issues in many different levels. And the one thing that I think we don't often think about is that really and truly property taxes are how local governments are often funded. It's how school districts are often funded. And so in a time like we are now, when all tax revenues are stressed and are probably lower than they would ordinarily be, it is a very tall mountain to go into a local community and to seek forbearance on property taxes, because literally it's the lifeblood of local government. That doesn't mean, however, that in some circumstances there has not been success in getting some forbearance or some delays in paying property taxes. Now, this is important. Vinay mentioned we work with our state associations across the country. It's very important. But I think this points out as well the need for our members to make sure you are engaged with your local governments. You need to make sure you know your county commissioners. You need to make sure you know your city council people, your mayors, your county commission chairman. They at least need to hear from you and know about the realities you are facing as businessmen and women in their communities, because they need for you to be able to pay those taxes in order to survive themselves and to fund local governments. So you need to let them know the strains that this has placed on the hospitality industry, on hotels in particular, so that they understand what the need really is. Because they don't know otherwise. They may not be all that educated about the business model of franchise or branded hotels or independent hotels. So you've got to take the initiative. I would also say to you, you're never going to get what you don't ask for, right? So even though we may be doing advocacy on in states, and we may be supporting the work of our state associations, you need to be very proactive in asking for assistance, asking for that forbearance, talking to your local elected officials so that they realize the burden this is placing upon your business right now, and how significant it is, the amount of taxes that you are paying, property taxes that you are paying where you operate your businesses.
Thanks, Cecil. Byron, what would you say in response to members who think that you don't want transparency?
Transparency in everyone's eyes is different, okay? If you ask anyone who has worked with me on this board, I've always been open with my thoughts. I've never taken the political route. And what you read sometimes on these social media platforms, unfortunately, aren't true, and they're misconstrued. And I'll tell you not only about transparency, but I want to kind of elaborate on the social media platform where sometimes we voice our frustrations and concerns, and they're not always factual. You know, I'm going to go back to our brand partners. I want to let you all know they're all reading what some of our members are writing about the brands, and some of it is not true. Okay, some of it could be constructive criticism, but there's a way to go about it and how to handle it. If we're going to try to build or continue that partnership and build any kind of gaps that we bridge any of the gaps that we have, then we're going to have to go with it with a constructive plan, right? Some of these things where we're shooting from the hip and thinking that that's going to achieve something, that doesn't achieve anything in this day and age. And you know, when we talk about transparency, my thing is you be fully transparent, not somewhat where you give just portions of it, where it gives the membership a way to decide something differently, where they can alter their opinion. I'm about giving transparency all or none, because when you give part of it, that's where things get misconstrued and people take it to a different tangent, and then people run with that, especially in today's age. So I'm all about transparency, but there's a way to give transparency, is my opinion.
Thanks, Byron. Bharat, question here, and this one may be moot by the last board meeting, but it says, how can I see how each board member votes and how my area board member is voting on certain things?
Sure. So look, well, you know, go to myahoa.com. If you haven't renewed your membership, please do. Look at the minutes are available there. There's other information available there too. Big picture wise, let me just say this. Look, all of your board members are working hard for you. Look, I was on a call last night at 10:30, right? All of us have families and businesses to run to, but we chose to serve you. We chose to serve this association. Any of you that are on this call, whether you're from Florida, Alabama, Georgia, I promise you, regional directors are on top of it. I know all three of them personally. When it comes to property taxes, deferment, all the plethora of issues there are. Let's take a step back. Look, I was on a Texas call yesterday, and it was actually somebody from outside the AAHOA community that basically says WhatsApp is not going to solve everything, but it is going to give us some sort of idea or direction or things to go in. And that's what I want to say is, let's talk about what our members need to get done. And so the best way is to communicate with your regional directors, but also your local ambassadors, right? If you were there on the earlier panels, look, engage with your brand, engage with your lender, engage with the local elected official, get back to us with what's happening. Don't ever think that we're not getting the information that we need to work on your behalf. Because I know that your officers and your board and your elected regional directors and the SIGs, the special elected directors, they're all working hard on your behalf. If you want to press them on what they voted and how they voted, absolutely, the voting record is there. But keep in mind, there's more to the voting record, right? We're going to get better as the things come. Think about it this way. It's not always a matter of transparency. It's a matter of what they call asymmetrical information, which basically means I have some specific information that you may not have. But understand something. We're working on your behalf. There's no dark side allied against AAHOA, okay? We're working on your behalf to represent you the best that we can. I hope that answers it, Rachel.
Thanks, Brett. Cecil, this one doesn't have a lot more detail to it, but it says, why doesn't AAHOA take a more aggressive role in hospitality industry issues?
Well, thank you. I would tell you AAHOA takes a very aggressive role in hospitality issues. Again, we are on the phone every week and almost every day with the brands working on behalf of our members. We do that for them individually at times, and then we do it collectively. At every step of the way since COVID-19 began, we've been at the table as a trusted partner in order to give an opinion to many, many different things that were being considered. And we are looked to because we are the voice of America's hoteliers. So I would tell you we're very aggressive. We're very aggressive in the educational materials that we put together and those opportunities we put together for our members. So much so that, as Neil pointed out earlier in his remarks, our treasurer, last year in 2019, 17,000 of our members participated in those events. This year, more than 47,000 have participated. We're aggressive in our advocacy. We're watching every step of the way what's taking place in Washington, D.C. that can have an impact on you. Going all the way back to the CARES Act, Vinay mentioned earlier, we were there to fight against those bizarre affiliation rules that would have limited you to only one PPP loan, even though you might own multiple properties. We were able to represent the fact that that simply wouldn't work for America's hoteliers, and we got that changed so that you could get a PPP loan for each individual property. I could go on, but we are there as your advocates, as your voice each and every day. And we are aggressive, but we are also professional. And for that reason, we are becoming respected. And as I said earlier as well, we're going to fight bad ideas that have the potential to harm your business or hoteliers, such as that bad legislation out in California that we are opposing. So we'll keep doing that. That's our commitment. And I hope you will continue to look at those emails you get or sign up for them if you're not on the list, so that you'll have a clear idea of what we're doing each and every day.
Thank you, Cecil. Vinay, on the advocacy side, is there an effort to make hospitality workers essential workers so that possibly they'll be eligible for a vaccine in the first or second round?
That's a great idea. Again, that's a great idea in the sense of making hospitality workers. Obviously, just like you guys are, I'm facing the same thing with my staff as well. Hey, they don't want to work because they're facing a lot of different consumers there. So it's a great idea, and obviously we'll pursue that. I mean, I didn't even think about it that way, but that's a great idea, and we'll go back to our DC office and saying, hey, look, let's make sure, see if we can get our hospitality workers to be essential workers there. Thank you for that thought.
If I could add to something like that, I've done a little bit of research, and the vaccines are going to go out based on population of the individual states. So Florida's third in the country, so you'll get the number of doses based on that. So 21 million people, probably 170,000 doses. So the key to that, though, is going to be it's the distribution pipeline. And so while they are trying to do more things, this is the other piece of it. Frontline workers are going to get are in line. So nurses, doctors. Then you have people in assisted living facilities, and then you'll have E911, workers in line for it, because the unions are pushing for that, and that's fine. But keep this in mind: there was a survey done for New Jersey, which has been really hard. Only 65% of the doctors are willing to take the vaccine on the first round, and only 60 or 65 or 70% of the nurses. So there still may be, even though whether we're classified as essential workers or not, I don't think there'll be a big delay on if you want to get the first and second dose within 28 days. Don't forget, you'll be able to get it. So it's almost like COVID testing. In some areas in Florida, you only have 5 or 10 minutes to wait. In other places, you'll have to make an appointment, or it might take a couple of hours. But I really do believe there's pent-up demand, and you will be able to have access to that vaccine between March and June fairly easily. If there's, you got Johnson & Johnson, 1 dose, no temperature guide. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Thanks, Brett. Biren, another one that may have been addressed by several of the officers' remarks, but also during the Q&A tonight is, can you summarize what AAHOA is doing for its membership, and what is AAHOA doing to grow membership?
I think through our presentation, we've kind of said what we're doing for our membership, right? I think that we have the best educational offerings for our membership, not only during this time of the pandemic, but even prior to COVID. I mean, just as I mentioned earlier, we have had over almost 200 webcasts since March to help our membership navigate through this time, right? Then obviously on the advocacy front, Vinay and Cecil mentioned what we're trying to do to get more stimulus, more help. When the PPP came out, we were there making sure that if you owned more than one hotel, that you're still eligible, right, to get the PPP. And then, I mean, not only education, but also the certifications. And, we're in a tough time, right? And as far as to get membership more, I mean, sometimes some people might think that because of the financial implications, even though our membership's only, minimal for our annual member, people might not want to pay it this year because of the tough times they're going to. But when people think that we're not providing enough value for our membership, whether you're a life member or an annual member, is absurd to me. Look, can we do better? Obviously, of course we can. But if we're not giving 110%, if the team is not giving 110%, I would tell you that, okay, maybe we're not doing enough, right? But we're doing what we can in these times to advocate on your behalf, whether it's, like I said, with the brands, whether it's in DC, whether it's with our state officials. I mean, education, in my opinion, is the biggest asset that we're giving you. Even if you are, a veteran in the industry, if you go to our online resource library and you look at what we're offering you, there's so many topics that each and every one of us can improve upon as an hotelier. And if we're not even involved in a daily basis with our hotels, your GMs can take advantage of this. So I think that there's so much that we're offering. We just want our members to stay engaged and make the most of the opportunities that we're giving you. Now, could our membership grow this year, and should it have? Possibly, correct. But in the tough times that we're in, we're probably not going to have the increase year over year that we have in the past. And some may say that's because, members or some people are thinking of our membership in a negative connotation. I mean, that's a handful. If you really look and try to get what you can out of this association, it can definitely make you a better hotelier and educate you to get out of this pandemic, sooner than later.
If I can add one more thing to that, when you think about membership, you talk about your local CVBs or your Chamber of Commerce. Those are very expensive things that we all pay for, and we all, as local hoteliers, hotel owners, we pay for. As AAHOA members, whether you be a lifetime member or a annual member, for $199 to $3,000 that you may have paid for the lifetime membership, the value that we all get, it's great. I mean, you think about it, as a hotelier, if it wasn't for AAHOA, who's going to stand on your behalf when we have issues with franchising? Who's going to stand on your behalf when we go to advocacy stuff? Who's going to stand on your behalf when we talk about education that's pertaining to hotel owners? So there's a lot of benefits that we all give for the minimal amount of dollars that we put into the association. And the platform that we have right now, there is nothing like that out there. I mean, me as a hotel owner, where would I turn to right now if I had a problem with the brand? I can't go to the brand directly. Who do I turn to? If I had an advocacy issue from a hotel owner's perspective, there is nothing out there other than the AAHOA here. So at the end of the day, we should be increasing membership on a regular basis because the amount of things that we offer to our members is absolutely amazing. Now look, are we all perfect? No, we're not perfect. Did we make mistakes? Probably so. Could we have done things better? No doubt about it. But at the end of the day, for the value that you get, for the amount of money you put into the association, it's absolutely amazing in terms of the ROI as an association.
And Rachel, if we could just add those two certifications. Human trafficking is not just in Florida as a law. A lot of brands are mandating it, including Marriott. And also, Procter & Gamble, the certification that we have as a partnership with Procter & Gamble, which is tied basically, right? That certification, take the quick course with your housekeepers. That's something that you can show and get that competitive advantage online.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, we've got one last one that's going out to all the officers. I'm going to start with Bharat and then Neil, Vinay, Cecil, and then Biren will end on you closing it out. What are you most looking forward to in 2021?
What am I most looking forward to? A COVID-free world, the new year. I'm looking to getting back to what we can, I guess, the new normal. So I'm really grateful for friends, family. You know, my business is still around, our businesses are still around, but I'm really looking forward to, as Ronald Reagan would say, morning in America. Let's close this chapter, go to the next chapter, and you know, if anything, do this favor for me. The relative or the friend you haven't talked to recently, give them a call in the new year, and maybe text a little bit less.
Neil?
Yeah, I'll echo Bharat's comments, and also looking forward to our convention in Dallas, Texas. I think it's going to be amazing. Looking forward to meeting everyone finally, face to face, and I'm tired of all the virtual events. So hopefully everything goes back in order, and looking forward to the convention. Thank you.
Excellent. Vinay?
Yeah, I'm kind of zoomed out with the Zoom stuff here, so I'm looking forward to just meeting people, talking to people, and engaging with people. I'm looking forward to putting 2020 behind me, and I think we've learned a lot in this year. Again, like I said, I know one of the biggest things I've learned is that I've learned a lot. I learned that I've gotten to be able to do a lot more with a lot less, whether it be my hotels, whether it be on the home front, or whatever else is out there. So I'm looking forward to appreciating what we've had in the past in 2021.
Cecil?
Well, you know, I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary with AAHOA. When I joined AAHOA in November of 2019, of course, like you, I had no idea that a global pandemic was just around the corner. So this hasn't been the first year that I really expected it to be. But you know what I'm looking forward to? I'm really looking forward to doing next year what I had hoped to do this year. And that's getting out there across this great country and meeting AAHOA members, meeting our members all over the country in every region, because you inspire me. Your stories as entrepreneurs, building businesses, employing people, creating wealth, paying taxes, having a great impact upon your communities. That really inspires me. So my biggest hope, which is very similar to what others have said, is that we're going to get past this thing, and we're going to get back to being able to do those in-person meetings. And I look forward to meeting more of you in person in 2021.
And then, Mr. Chairman, not only what are you looking forward to in 2021, but if you would close us out on this last AAHOA Regional of 2020.
Thank you, Rachel. So I think, you know, looking forward to what I'm looking forward to next year. I mean, it's a common theme what my fellow officers said. But as I close out today, you know, this is our final super regional for this year. You know, we've hosted 8. This is our 8th one. You know, I want to thank all of you for participating in one of AAHOA's cornerstone events. Although our events from convention and education sessions to these regionals took on a significantly different format this year, I am grateful that the members like you still participated. You know, in these challenging times, it is important to remember that you are not alone. That is why events like these are so important. AAHOA's virtual events allow us to remain connected even in this age of social distancing and quarantines and the isolation that accompanies this pandemic. Hoteliers across the country are going through the same struggles, and we will get through this together. Whether your portfolio has 1 hotel or 50, we all continue to face similar struggles with liquidity, our obligations to our employees and to our lenders, and fight to preserve our livelihoods. These past several months have not been easy, nor for you all or for me. But the recent vaccine news is giving us light at the end of the tunnel. Once the COVID-19 vaccine is widely distributed and the consumer confidence increases, our industry will recover, but it will take time. As we work towards recovery, I want you to remember that AAHOA is here for you. I am proud of our board of directors, ambassadors, our staff, and you, our members. Your resilience as entrepreneurs shines brightest during the darkest hours. Your support and engagement through the year means so much to me and to the association. I am thankful for your continued support and engagement. I look forward to seeing you face to face much sooner than later. Thank you again for being part of what makes AAHOA great. Stay safe. Happy holidays.